My name is Helen, 30 years old. Last Thanksgiving, my sister Andrea slapped me across the face in front of our entire family because I wouldn't play along with her demands for money to prop up her so-called perfect life. She called me ungrateful, humiliated me, and kicked me out of the main dining table to sit with the kids. Where are you tuning in from? If this story hits home, make sure to like, comment with your location, and subscribe for more. That wasn't even the worst part. 3 days later, her business partner called me not to check if I was okay, but to pressure me about a contract I'd secured for Andrea's company, one she didn't even know I was behind. I'd been quietly ensuring her success for years, and she had no clue. That's when I realized Andrea had been using my connections to build her empire while treating me like I was nothing. But when I walked out that Thanksgiving night, I made a choice that would change everything. The air in Columbus, Ohio was chilly that Thanksgiving morning as I pulled into my parents' driveway on Elmwood Avenue. I'd driven an hour from my downtown apartment, dreading the annual family gathering. Mom Madison had been texting me since 6 a.m., reminding me to bring the cranberry sauce and wear something presentable, as if my usual jeans and sweater weren't good enough for her perfect holiday. Dad Logan was probably already carving the turkey in his apron, acting like the calm patriarch, while Mom orchestrated every detail. My sister Andrea, though, was the real problem. She'd always acted like she was better than me, running her fancy marketing firm, married to Billy, her polished husband who nodded along to her every word. I grabbed the cranberry sauce from my passenger seat and braced myself for what I knew would be a long day. The house was already buzzing when I walked in. Aunt Clara was arranging pies on the kitchen counter, her laugh loud enough to drown out the football game blaring from the living room. Cousin Ryan was chasing his kids around, and Mom was in her element, directing everyone like a stage manager. Andrea stood by the dining room table, her blonde hair pulled into a sleek bun, wearing a tailored dress that probably cost more than my monthly rent. Billy was next to her, scrolling on his phone, looking bored, but still managing to fit into her perfect image. I set the cranberry sauce on the counter and gave Mom a quick hug, hoping to avoid too much attention. "Helen, you made it," Mom said, her voice warm, but with that edge she always had when she was sizing me up. "Andrea was just saying how busy she's been with work. You should hear about her latest client." I forced a smile. Andrea always had a latest client, a new deal, a big win she'd flaunt while subtly reminding everyone I was just a nonprofit worker scraping by. "Sounds exciting," I said, keeping it short. Andrea glanced over her eyes, flicking over my outfit before she smirked. "Helen, you're so consistent with those sweaters. Very practical." Her tone dripped with condescension, and Billy chuckled like it was a private joke. I ignored it and started helping Aunt Clara with the pies, hoping to stay out of Andrea's orbit. But I could feel her watching me, waiting for a chance to prove she was the star of the family. The dining room was set up with 2 tables as usual. The main table had Mom's fancy china-polished silverware and place cards for the important family members: Mom, Dad, Andrea, Billy, and a few aunts and uncles. The second table, shoved in the corner, was for the kids, and, apparently, me. I noticed my name card wasn't at the main table, even though I'd been coming to these dinners for 30 years. "Mom, is this right?" I asked, holding up the card with my name written in her neat handwriting. She barely looked up from arranging the centerpiece. "Oh, Helen, we're tight on space this year. You don't mind, do you?" "The kids love having you with them." I minded a lot. I'd spent years showing up to these gatherings, contributing to the family in ways nobody acknowledged, and now I was being relegated to the kids' table like I didn't matter. Before I could respond, Andrea chimed in. "It's not a big deal, Helen. You're good with kids. Besides, the main table's for people who've earned their spot." Her words hit like a jab, and I could see Aunt Clara pause, her eyes darting between us. "Earn their spot?" I repeated, keeping my voice steady. "What does that mean?" "Andrea?" She shrugged, adjusting a napkin. "You know, people who've actually done something with their lives. Not everyone can just coast on family goodwill." The room went quiet for a second, but nobody said anything. Dad was in the kitchen, oblivious, and Mom just nodded like Andrea had made a fair point. I felt my face get hot, but I wasn't going to let her win that easily. "I've done plenty, Andrea. Maybe you don't see it because you're too busy showing off." Her eyes narrowed and Billy finally looked up from his phone, sensing trouble. "Let's not start a fight," he said, his voice lazy, like he didn't really care. But Andrea wasn't backing down. "A fight? I'm just stating facts. You work at that little nonprofit barely making ends meet and you expect to sit with the adults. Come on, Helen, grow up." I couldn't believe she was going there, especially in front of everyone. Aunt Clara tried to change the subject, asking about the turkey, but I wasn't letting this slide. "You think you're better than me because you run a company," I said, stepping closer to the table. "You think that gives you the right to treat me like I'm nothing?" Andrea laughed, but it was sharp, mean. "Helen, you're not nothing, you're just irrelevant. You don't contribute anything real to this family. You show up, eat our food, and act like you deserve a medal for it." That's when it happened. Before I could respond, Andrea's hand shot out and she slapped me across the face. The sound was sharp, cutting through the chatter in the house. I stood there stunned, my cheek stinging as everyone froze. Cousin Ryan's kids stopped running. Aunt Clara gasped. Even Billy looked shocked, though he didn't move. Andrea leaned in, her voice low and venomous. "You're so ungrateful," she hissed. "After everything this family's done for you, you dare talk back to me. Get out of my sight." I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I just stared at her. The sister I'd grown up with, the one I'd spent years helping in ways she didn't even know. "You want me gone?" I said, my voice calm but cold. "Fine." I grabbed my coat from the hallway, ignoring Mom's half-hearted "Helen, wait," and Dad's confused "What's going on?" as he poked his head out of the kitchen. I walked out the front door, got in my car, and drove away from Elmwood Avenue, knowing I'd never see that house the same way again. I ended up at my friend Lisa's apartment, a small place downtown where she lived with her cat and too many plants. Lisa had been my rock since college, always there when I needed to vent about family or work. She opened the door, took one look at my face, and pulled me inside without a word. Over coffee, I told her everything: Andrea's insults, the kids' table, the slap, the ungrateful jab. Lisa's eyes widened as I talked. "She hit you in front of everyone, Helen. That's not okay." I nodded, still processing it. "It's not just the slap. It's how she's always treated me, like I'm some failure she has to tolerate. And the worst part? She has no idea what I've done for her." Lisa leaned forward, her coffee mug forgotten. "What do you mean, what you've done for her?" I hesitated. I hadn't told anyone the full story, not even Lisa. For years, I'd been using my contacts in the nonprofit world to connect Andrea's marketing firm with big clients. I'd introduced her to people like Tom Carver, a major player in Columbus's tech scene, who'd signed contracts worth hundreds of thousands of dollars with her company. She thought those deals came through her own charm and hustle, but I'd been the one opening doors quietly because I thought that's what sisters do. I got her the Carver contract, I admitted, and a few others. She doesn't even know it was me. Lisa's jaw dropped. "You're kidding. Her whole business is built on those contracts and she treats you like that." I nodded, feeling the weight of it settle in. I never asked for credit. I just wanted her to respect me. But she doesn't, and I'm done. Lisa reached across the table, squeezing my hand. "What are you going to do?" I didn't have an answer yet, but I knew one thing: I wasn't going to let Andrea walk all over me anymore. That night, lying on Lisa's couch, I started thinking about those contracts, about the power I didn't even realize I had. Andrea thought she was untouchable, but she was about to learn how wrong she was. The next morning, my phone buzzed with a text from Mom. "Helen, you upset Andrea last night. Can you apologize so we can move on?" I stared at the message, incredulous. Apologize? For getting slapped, for being humiliated. I didn't reply. Instead, I opened my email and saw a message from Tom Carver, the tech client I'd introduced to Andrea. He was checking in about a new project, asking if I'd be willing to facilitate another meeting. That's when it hit me. Andrea's entire business relied on my connections, my goodwill, my silence. And I was done being silent. I spent the day at work trying to focus on my job at the Columbus Community Fund, where I coordinated programs for low-income families. It was hard to concentrate knowing what had happened, knowing what I was considering. My coworker Sarah noticed I was off. "You okay, Helen? You look like you didn't sleep." I gave her a half smile. Family drama. I'll survive. But surviving wasn't enough anymore. I wanted Andrea to face the truth, to see that her success wasn't just hers. I wanted her to feel what it was like to lose something she'd taken for granted. By Tuesday, the calls started. Not from Andrea, of course, she was too proud for that. It was her business partner, Greg Larson, a guy I'd met a few times at networking events. His voice was all business, no warmth. "Helen, we need to talk about the Carver contract. Andrea said you might have some insight since you know Tom. Can you confirm we're still on track for the renewal?" I paused, letting the question hang. Greg had no idea I was the one who'd brought Tom to Andrea's firm in the first place. "I'll get back to you, Greg," I said, keeping my tone neutral. "I need to check some things." After I hung up, I pulled up my emails with Tom Carver. There it was, clear as day, my introduction 2 years ago, connecting him with Andrea, praising her firm, but making it happen because of my relationship with him. I'd done the same with 2 other clients, big names in Columbus's tech and retail sectors, all of whom signed with Andrea because of me. She'd never thanked me, never acknowledged it. She didn't even know. And now she'd crossed a line there was no coming back from. I called Lisa that night, my mind racing. "I'm thinking about pulling the plug," I said, telling Tom and the others to cut ties with Andrea's firm. Lisa didn't hesitate. "Do it. She doesn't deserve your help after what she did." I wasn't sure yet, but the idea was taking root. Andrea had built her life on dismissing me, on thinking she was better than me, but I held the cards she didn't even know existed, and I was ready to play them. The days after that Thanksgiving disaster were a blur of anger and clarity. I'd walked out of my parents' house after Andrea slapped me and called me ungrateful, and I wasn't about to crawl back and apologize like they wanted. My phone kept buzzing with texts from Mom, Dad, even Aunt Clara, all saying I'd overreacted, that I'd ruined the holiday, that I needed to make things right with Andrea. They acted like I was the problem, like getting hit in the face was my fault for daring to stand up to her. But what they didn't know, what Andrea definitely didn't know, was that her precious marketing firm, the one she bragged about constantly, was standing on ground I'd built. Those big contracts she waved around like trophies, I was the one who'd made them happen. And I was starting to realize I could take them away just as easily. Friday morning, I woke up on Lisa's couch, my head pounding from a night of replaying that dinner in my mind. Lisa was already up making coffee, her cat weaving around her legs. "You look rough," she said, handing me a mug. "Did you sleep at all?" I shook my head. "Not really. Mom texted me again last night saying I owe Andrea an apology for causing a scene." Can you believe that? Lisa snorted. "She hits you and you're supposed to say sorry. That's next level." I sipped the coffee, trying to figure out my next move. My phone buzzed again, another message from Mom. "Helen, we're all upset about Thanksgiving. Please call Andrea and work this out. Family comes first." I tossed the phone on the couch. Family comes first, sure, unless you're the one getting shoved to the kids' table and slapped for speaking up. I went to work at the Columbus Community Fund, hoping to bury myself in grant proposals and forget about the whole mess. But it wasn't that easy. My coworker Sarah kept glancing over, probably noticing I was distracted. "You sure you're okay?" she asked during lunch. "You've been staring at that spreadsheet for an hour." I sighed, not wanting to drag her into my drama. "Just family stuff. I'll get through it." She nodded but didn't push, which I appreciated. The truth was, I couldn't stop thinking about Andrea's company. Her firm, Pinnacle Marketing, was her pride and joy, the thing she used to prove she was better than me. But I knew something she didn't. 2 years ago, I'd connected her with Tom Carver, a tech CEO who needed a marketing overhaul for his startup. I'd met Tom through my nonprofit work organizing community events he sponsored. He trusted me, so when I recommended Andrea's firm, he signed a contract worth $200,000 over 2 years. Then there was Laura Bennett, a retail chain owner I'd introduced last year, another 6-figure deal. And Mike Sullivan, a real estate developer who'd signed on 6 months ago. All because of me. Andrea thought she'd landed those clients herself, but I'd been the one pulling strings, making calls, setting up meetings. I never asked for credit because I thought that's what family did, help each other. Big mistake. By noon, my phone was blowing up again. This time, it was Andrea herself, not texting, but calling, which was rare. I let it go to voicemail, not ready to deal with her fake apologies or more insults. Her message was exactly what I expected. Helen, I don't know why you had to make such a big deal at Thanksgiving. You embarrassed me in front of everyone. Call me so we can move past this. Move past this. She'd humiliated me, hit me, and now she was acting like I was the one who needed to fix things. I deleted the voicemail and opened my laptop, pulling up my email history with Tom Carver. There they were, dozens of messages where I'd vouched for Andrea's firm, set up introductions, even followed up to make sure the contracts were signed. I felt a knot in my stomach, not just anger, but betrayal. I'd spent years building her up, and she repaid me by treating me like garbage. That afternoon, I got a text from cousin Ryan. "Hey Helen, just checking in. Things got heated at dinner. You okay?" I appreciated that he cared, but I could tell he was fishing for details. Ryan was one of the few family members who didn't automatically side with Andrea, but he wasn't exactly on my team either. "I'm fine," I texted back. "Just needed to get out of there." He replied, "Andrea's been talking about how you overreacted. Aunt Clara's worried about you." Of course, Andrea was spinning the story, making me look like the problem. I could picture her at Mom and Dad's playing the victim, saying I'd ruined her perfect Thanksgiving. I didn't respond to Ryan. Instead, I called Lisa during my break. Andrea left me a voicemail acting like I'm the one who needs to apologize. I said, pacing outside my office. "She's telling everyone I overreacted." Lisa didn't hold back. "She's gaslighting you, Helen. She hit you. That's not an overreaction, that's assault. You don't owe her anything." I knew she was right, but it still stung knowing my own sister was out there twisting the truth. "I keep thinking about those contracts," I said. "If I tell Tom and the others to pull out, her company's done. She's built everything on those deals." Lisa's voice was firm. "Then do it. She doesn't get to treat you like that and keep profiting off your work." I wasn't ready to make the call yet, but the idea was growing like a fire I couldn't put out. I'd spent so long being the good sister, the one who didn't make waves, but Andrea had crossed a line and I was done playing nice. That evening, I went back to Lisa's place, still crashing on her couch while I figured out my next steps. My phone buzzed again, Mom this time, with a longer text. "Helen, I know you're upset, but Andrea's under a lot of stress with her business. She didn't mean to hurt you. Can you please come to dinner tomorrow so we can talk this out? We're family." I laughed out loud, bitter. Didn't mean to hurt me. She'd slapped me in front of 20 people and called me ungrateful. I showed the text to Lisa, who rolled her eyes. "They're all protecting Andrea because she's the golden child. When are you going to stop letting them walk all over you?" I didn't have an answer, but her words stuck with me. I wasn't going back to that house, not to apologize, not to pretend everything was fine. Saturday morning, I decided to do some digging. I logged into my work email and pulled up every message related to Andrea's clients. There were contracts, meeting notes, even thank you emails from Tom Carver and Laura Bennett, praising me for connecting them with Pinnacle Marketing. I printed everything, creating a paper trail that showed exactly how much I'd done for Andrea's firm. It wasn't just introductions, I'd followed up, smoothed over issues, even convinced Tom to renew his contract last month when he was considering another firm. Andrea had no idea how much I'd carried her success on my back. I felt a mix of pride and fury looking at those documents. Pride because I'd built those bridges, fury because she'd never once acknowledged me. Around noon, Aunt Clara called. I almost didn't pick up, but she'd always been kinder than most of the family, so I answered. "Helen, I'm so sorry about Thanksgiving," she said, her voice soft. "I saw what happened, and I can't believe Andrea did that to you. Are you okay?" I was surprised she wasn't calling to defend Andrea. "I'm managing," I said, "but I'm not going back there to apologize." Clara sighed. "I don't blame you. Andrea's always been intense. But your mom's been telling everyone you started the fight that you were disrespectful. I don't buy it, but some people do." I wasn't shocked. Mom always took Andrea's side no matter what. "Thanks for checking in, Aunt Clara," I said. "But I'm done letting them rewrite the story." She hesitated, then added, "Just be careful, Helen. Andrea's not going to let this go. She's already talking about how you're jealous of her success." I hung up, feeling the fire in my chest burn hotter. Jealous if only she knew the truth. That afternoon, I emailed Tom Carver, keeping it professional but direct. "Hey Tom, I'm following up on the Pinnacle marketing contract. Can we talk about the renewal terms? I have some concerns about their capacity." It was vague, but enough to get his attention. He replied within an hour, suggesting a call on Monday. I did the same with Laura Bennett and Mike Sullivan, planting seeds of doubt without revealing my hand. I wasn't ready to pull the trigger yet, but I wanted options. If Andrea thought she could humiliate me and keep her empire, she was about to get a wake-up call. Sunday brought more family pressure. Dad called, his voice gruff but trying to sound reasonable. "Helen, your mother's upset. Andrea's upset. Can't you just come over and talk this out? We don't want this tearing the family apart." I gripped the phone, fighting the urge to yell. "Dad, Andrea hit me. She called me ungrateful because I wouldn't let her treat me like dirt. Why am I the one who has to fix this?" He sighed like I was being difficult. "She's got a lot on her plate with the business. You know how important Pinnacle is to her and Billy. Maybe you could be a little more understanding." Understanding? I'd been understanding for years, propping up her company while she belittled me. "I'm not the one who needs to be understanding, Dad," I said, and hung up before he could guilt-trip me further. That night, I met Lisa at a diner downtown, needing to get out of her apartment and clear my head. Over greasy fries and milkshakes, I showed her the emails I'd sent to Andrea's clients. "You're really doing this?" she said, a grin spreading across her face. "You're going to take her down." I nodded, but it wasn't about revenge, not entirely. It was about justice. "She doesn't get to treat me like that and keep profiting off my work," I said. "But I'm not sure how far I want to go. If I pull those contracts, her company's done. Billy's out of a job. Their whole life falls apart." Lisa leaned back, sipping her milkshake. "And that's their fault, not yours. They've been living a lie, Helen. You're just making it real." Monday morning, I got a call from Billy, Andrea's husband. I was surprised he rarely contacted me directly. "Helen, we need to talk," he said, sounding nervous. "Andrea's freaking out about the business. She said you've been stirring things up with her clients." I frowned, confused. "What are you talking about? I haven't spoken to Andrea." He hesitated. "She got a call from Tom Carver's assistant asking about the contract renewal. They mentioned you'd reached out with concerns." Andrea's livid. "She thinks you're trying to sabotage her." I almost laughed. Sabotage? She had no idea how much I'd done to keep her business afloat. "Billy, if Andrea's worried about her clients, maybe she should ask herself why they're questioning her," I said, keeping my voice calm. "I'm just looking out for my own interests." He didn't know what to say to that, mumbling something about talking later before hanging up. That call from Billy was the push I needed. Andrea wasn't just dismissing me now, she was accusing me of sabotage without even knowing the truth. I opened my laptop and drafted another email to Tom Carver, this time more direct. "Tom, I've been reflecting on Pinnacle Marketing's performance. I have reason to believe they've misrepresented their capabilities. I'd recommend reconsidering the renewal. I sent similar messages to Laura and Mike, knowing each one was a step closer to unraveling Andrea's world. I wasn't ready to tell them everything, not yet, but I was laying the groundwork. By Tuesday, the family pressure was relentless. Mom called again, her voice sharper this time. "Helen, what are you doing? Andrea says you're meddling with her business. Do you have any idea how much stress you're causing?" I didn't back down. "Mom, Andrea hit me. She humiliated me in front of everyone. Why aren't you asking her to apologize?" Mom sighed like I was being unreasonable. "She's your sister Helen. She's trying to keep her company afloat. You don't understand how hard it is for her." I cut her off. "I understand more than you think. Maybe ask Andrea how she got those big clients in the first place." I hung up, done with the guilt trips. That night, I got an unexpected text from Cousin Ryan. "Helen, I talked to Aunt Clara and Uncle Jim. They're starting to question Andrea's story about Thanksgiving. Clara said she saw how Andrea treated you and it wasn't right. Just wanted you to know some of us are on your side." It was the first time since Thanksgiving I felt like I wasn't completely alone. Ryan's text gave me a spark of hope, but it didn't change the fact that Andrea was still out there spinning lies, acting like I was the villain. I called Lisa, needing to talk it through. "Some of the family's starting to see through Andrea," I said. "But it's not enough. She's still playing the victim, and Mom and Dad are eating it up." Lisa didn't mince words. "Then show them who she really is. You've got the evidence, Helen. Those emails, those contracts, you built her company. Take it away and let her deal with the consequences." I knew she was right, but the thought of actually doing it, of pulling the plug on Andrea's life, was heavy. I'd spent so long being the sister who helped, who stayed quiet, who let her shine. But that slap, those words, ungrateful, irrelevant, they kept echoing in my head. I wasn't irrelevant. I was the reason she had anything to brag about, and I was done letting her take that from me. By Wednesday, I was done hesitating. Andrea had slapped me, called me ungrateful, and spent days painting me as the family troublemaker, all while sitting on a throne I'd built for her. Her marketing firm Pinnacle was her pride, her proof she was better than me, but she didn't know I was the one who'd handed her the keys to that kingdom. I'd connected her with Tom Carver, Laura Bennett, and Mike Sullivan clients whose contracts were the backbone of her business. I'd done it quietly, thinking it was what sisters do, but after Thanksgiving, after that slap, I was ready to take it all back. I wasn't just hurt anymore. I was angry, and I was ready to act. I spent the morning at my apartment going through every email, every document, every piece of proof that showed how I'd made Andrea's success possible. There were emails from 2 years ago where I'd introduced her to Tom Carver, a tech CEO I'd met through my nonprofit work at the Columbus Community Fund. I'd organized a fundraiser he sponsored, and we'd hit it off. When he mentioned needing a marketing firm, I recommended Pinnacle vouched for Andrea, set up the meeting. That deal was worth $200,000 over 2 years. Then there was Laura Bennett, who owned a chain of retail stores across Ohio. I'd met her at a community event, and when she needed a rebrand, I connected her with Andrea. Another $150,000. Mike Sullivan, a real estate developer, was the most recent. 6 months ago, I'd convinced him to hire Pinnacle for a major campaign, a deal worth $100,000. I had emails, call logs, even thank you notes from all three, praising me for making the connection. Andrea thought she'd won those clients with her charm and hustle, but I was the one who'd opened every door. I printed everything, stacking the papers on my kitchen table like a war chest. Looking at it all, I felt a mix of pride and rage. I'd spent years building bridges for her, never asking for a thing, and she repaid me by shoving me to the kids' table and hitting me in front of our family. My phone buzzed with another text from Mom. "Helen, Andrea's really hurt by how you've been acting. Can you please call her? We don't want this to ruin the holidays." Hurt? Andrea was hurt? I laughed, but it was bitter hollow. She was out there spinning lies, telling everyone I was the problem while her entire business rested on my work. I didn't reply to Mom. Instead, I called Lisa, needing to talk it through before I made my move. "You've got everything you need," Lisa said, her voice steady over the phone. "Those emails, those contracts, that's proof you built her empire. What's stopping you from pulling the plug?" I paced my apartment, the stack of papers staring at me from the table. "It's not just about proving a point," I said. "If I do this, her company's done. Billy loses his job. Their whole life falls apart." Lisa didn't hesitate. "And that's on her, Helen. She chose to treat you like garbage. She chose to hit you. You don't owe her a safety net." She was right, but the weight of it still hit me hard. I'd spent so long being the sister who helped, who stayed quiet, who let Andrea shine. Taking that away felt like crossing a line I couldn't uncross. That afternoon, I got a call from Aunt Clara. She sounded nervous, like she was stepping into a minefield. "Helen, I talked to your mom and Andrea yesterday," she said. "They're saying you're trying to sabotage Andrea's business. Is that true?" I gripped the phone, my jaw tight. "Sabotage, Clara? All I've done is ask questions about why I'm being treated like I don't matter. Did they tell you Andrea hit me? Did they tell you she called me ungrateful because I wouldn't let her walk all over me?" Clara sighed. "I saw what happened at dinner, Helen. I know she hit you. I told your mom it wasn't right, but she says you provoked her. I don't know what to believe." I took a deep breath, keeping my voice calm. "Believe this. I've been helping Andrea's business for years and she doesn't even know it. Ask her how she got the Carver contract." Clara went quiet for a moment. "You're serious, aren't you? You're involved in her business." I didn't give her details. I wasn't ready to lay it all out yet. "Just wait, Clara. You'll see." After hanging up, I felt a surge of clarity. Andrea wasn't just clueless. She was actively trying to turn the family against me, and I was done letting her control the narrative. I opened my laptop and drafted an email to Tom Carver, keeping it professional, but sharp. "Tom, I've been reviewing Pinnacle Marketing's performance on your contract. I have serious concerns about their reliability and transparency. I strongly recommend reconsidering the renewal and exploring other firms." I sent similar emails to Laura Bennett and Mike Sullivan, each one carefully worded to plant doubts without revealing my full role yet. I wasn't just testing the waters anymore. I was setting the stage for a reckoning. By Thursday, the fallout started. Tom Carver called me directly, his voice confused but curious. "Helen, I got your email about Pinnacle. What's going on? I thought you recommended them in the first place." I took a deep breath, choosing my words carefully. "I did, Tom, because I trusted my sister to deliver. But I've learned some things about how she runs her business that make me question her integrity. I don't want you tied to a firm that might not be what it seems." He paused, processing. "That's a big deal, Helen. Can you give me specifics?" I wasn't ready to spill everything, not yet, but I gave him enough. "Let's just say she's been taking credit for work she didn't do. I'll send you more details soon." He agreed to hold off on the renewal and asked for a meeting next week. Laura and Mike responded to my emails with similar concerns, both saying they'd look into other options. The wheels were turning and there was no going back. That evening, Andrea called again. This time, I picked up, ready to hear what she had to say. Her voice was pure venom. "Helen, what the hell are you doing? Tom Carver's assistant just called, saying they're reconsidering our contract because of you. Are you trying to ruin me?" I stayed calm even though my blood was boiling. "I'm not doing anything, Andrea. Maybe your clients are just starting to see the truth about your firm." She laughed, but it was sharp, angry. "The truth? You're jealous, Helen. You've always been jealous because I actually made something of myself while you're stuck in your little nonprofit job playing hero to poor people. You can't stand that I'm successful." I gripped the phone, fighting the urge to scream. "You think you're successful because of your hustle? Ask yourself how you got Tom Carver, Laura Bennett, Mike Sullivan. Ask yourself why they trusted you in the first place." She went quiet for a second, then snapped, "What are you talking about? I earned those contracts." I didn't argue, I just hung up. She wasn't ready to hear the truth, but she would be soon. Friday brought more family pressure. Mom called, her voice shaking with frustration. "Helen, I don't know what's going on with you, but Andrea says you're meddling in her business. She's losing clients because of you. Do you want to destroy your sister's life?" I couldn't believe it. She was still defending Andrea even after everything. "Mom," she hit me. She humiliated me in front of everyone. "Why is it my job to protect her?" Mom's tone turned cold. "You're being selfish, Helen. Andrea's worked hard to build that company. You don't understand the pressure she's under." I cut her off. "I understand more than you think. Maybe ask Andrea how she got her biggest clients. Then we'll talk about who's selfish." I hung up, done with the guilt trips. That afternoon, I got a text from cousin Ryan. "Helen, I heard from Aunt Clara that you might be connected to Andrea's business deals. Is that true? People are starting to ask questions." I smiled, feeling a spark of hope. The family narrative was cracking just a little. "It's true, Ryan," I texted back. "Wait and see." I wasn't ready to spill everything to the family yet, but knowing some of them were questioning Andrea's story gave me strength. I called Lisa, needing her perspective. "I talked to Tom, Laura, and Mike," I said. "They're all reconsidering their contracts with Pinnacle. I think I'm ready to tell them the whole truth." Lisa's voice was fierce. "Do it, Helen. She doesn't deserve to keep profiting off your work after what she did. Let her face the consequences." That night, I sat down with my laptop and wrote the emails that would change everything. To Tom Carver. "Tom, I need to be clear. I was the one who recommended Pinnacle Marketing to you because I trusted my sister. But she's been misrepresenting her role in securing your contract. I connected you to her, and I'm no longer comfortable with her firm handling your business. I suggest you terminate the agreement." I sent nearly identical emails to Laura Bennett and Mike Sullivan, laying out the truth. I'd been the one who brought them to Pinnacle, and I was withdrawing my support. I hit send on all three, feeling a rush of relief and dread. This was it, the point of no return. Andrea's company was about to lose its three biggest clients, and I was the one pulling the trigger. Saturday morning, I got a call from Billy, Andrea's husband. He sounded panicked, his usual laid-back tone gone. "Helen, what did you do? Tom Carver just emailed Andrea saying he's pulling out of the contract. Laura Bennett's team called too. They're both citing concerns you raised. Andrea's losing it." I kept my voice steady. "Billy, I told the truth. Andrea's been taking credit for work she didn't do. Those clients came through me, not her." He was quiet for a moment, then said, "You're serious? You got her those contracts?" I nodded, even though he couldn't see me. "Every single one. She never knew, and she never thanked me. Maybe now she'll understand." He didn't know what to say, mumbling something about talking to Andrea before hanging up. By Sunday, the cracks in Andrea's world were widening. I got a text from Aunt Clara. "Helen, I talked to Ryan and Uncle Jim. We're starting to think Andrea's not telling the whole story. What's going on with her business? Did you really help her get those clients?" I didn't give her the full picture yet. I wanted Andrea to feel the consequences first. "It's true, Clara," I replied. "I'll explain soon." Meanwhile, Lisa called, her voice practically vibrating with excitement. "You did it, didn't you? You pulled the plug." I nodded, staring at the stack of printed emails on my table. "Yeah. I told Tom, Laura, and Mike to walk away. Pinnacle's done." Lisa let out a whoop. "I'm proud of you, Helen. She's about to learn what happens when you bite the hand that feeds you." That evening, Andrea called again, and this time I could hear the desperation in her voice. "Helen, what did you tell my clients? Tom Carver's out. Laura's out. And Mike Sullivan's team just sent a termination notice. My company's falling apart. What did you do?" I didn't back down. I told them the truth, Andrea. I told them I'm the one who brought them to you. I'm the reason you had those contracts, and I'm the reason they're gone. She was silent for a long moment, then her voice turned cold. "You're lying. You're just jealous, trying to ruin me because you can't handle my success." I laughed, not because it was funny, but because she still didn't get it. "Keep telling yourself that, Andrea. You'll figure it out soon enough." I hung up, knowing the truth was about to hit her like a freight train. By Monday, the dominoes I'd set in motion started to fall, and they fell hard. Andrea's company, Pinnacle Marketing, was crumbling, and she was just starting to realize how much trouble she was in. Tom Carver had officially pulled his contract, a $200,000 deal that was the cornerstone of her business. Laura Bennett followed, citing concerns about Pinnacle's reliability, and Mike Sullivan's team sent a formal termination notice by the end of the day. Without those three clients, Pinnacle was bleeding money, and Andrea was scrambling to figure out why her perfect little empire was falling apart. I'd spent years building her up, connecting her with those clients, and now, in a matter of days, I'd taken it all away. She still didn't know it was me, not completely, but the truth was closing in, and I wasn't going to let her spin this one. I was at my apartment working remotely for the Columbus Community Fund when my phone started blowing up with texts from Andrea. The first one was pure rage. "Helen, you've destroyed my life. Carver, Bennett, Sullivan, they're all gone." "What did you say to them?" I didn't respond. "Let her sweat it out." The second text came an hour later, softer but still accusing. "I don't know what you think you're doing, but you need to fix this. Call me. Fix it." She thought I was going to swoop in and save her after she'd slapped me, called me ungrateful, and treated me like I was nothing. By the third text, her tone had shifted to panic. "Helen, please. I don't understand what's happening. We need to talk." I ignored that one too, but I knew she was starting to feel the walls closing in. Tuesday morning, I got a call from Billy, Andrea's husband. He sounded like he hadn't slept in days. "Helen, Pinnacle's done," he said, his voice raw. "We lost our biggest clients and we can't cover our expenses. Andrea's freaking out. She says you talked to the clients, that you're behind this. Is that true?" I didn't hesitate. "Yes, Billy. I told them the truth. I was the one who got Pinnacle those contracts, Carver, Bennett, Sullivan. All of them came through me, and Andrea never even knew." He was quiet for a long moment, like he was trying to process it. "You're serious? You got us those deals?" I nodded, even though he couldn't see me. "Every single one. I connected her with those clients because I thought it was the right thing to do. But she crossed a line at Thanksgiving, and I'm done letting her profit off my work." Billy didn't argue. He just mumbled, "I didn't know," and hung up. I could tell he was reeling, but I didn't feel sorry for him. He'd stood by while Andrea humiliated me, and now they were both paying the price. That afternoon, I got an unexpected email from Tom Carver. "Helen, I owe you an apology. When you first recommended Pinnacle, I trusted your judgment and it paid off. But after your recent emails, I looked into their operations. They've been dropping the ball, missed deadlines, sloppy work. I didn't realize how much you were propping them up behind the scenes. Thanks for the heads up." Laura Bennett sent a similar message, thanking me for steering her toward better options. Mike Sullivan called personally, saying he'd already signed with a new firm and appreciated my honesty. Each message was like a weight lifting off my shoulders. I'd spent years being invisible, letting Andrea take credit for my work, and now the people who mattered were seeing the truth. By Wednesday, the news was spreading. Pinnacle Marketing was on the verge of bankruptcy. Andrea had to lay off half her staff, including Billy, who'd been her right-hand man. They were drowning in debt, office leases, vendor payments, loans they'd taken out to expand the business. I heard through cousin Ryan that Andrea and Billy were fighting constantly, their perfect marriage cracking under the pressure. Ryan texted me that morning. "Helen, I talked to Aunt Clara. She says Andrea's telling everyone you sabotaged her company out of jealousy. But Clara and I don't buy it. What's really going on? I decided it was time to start being honest with the family. Ryan, I got Pinnacle their biggest clients, Carver, Bennett, Sullivan. Andrea didn't know, and when she humiliated me at Thanksgiving, I told those clients the truth. That's why her company's collapsing." He replied almost immediately. Damn, Helen. That's huge. I'm on your side. Knowing Ryan and Clara were starting to see through Andrea's lies felt good, but it didn't erase the hurt of knowing most of the family was still on her side. That evening, Mom called and I could tell she was furious. Helen, how could you do this to your sister? Pinnacle's gone and Andrea's devastated. She says you turned her clients against her. Why would you destroy her life? I took a deep breath, keeping my voice steady. Mom, Andrea's been living a lie. I got her those clients, every single one. I spent years helping her build Pinnacle and she thanked me by hitting me and calling me ungrateful. I'm not the one who destroyed anything. She did that herself. Mom's voice cracked. She's your sister Helen. Family doesn't do this to each other. Can't you fix it for me and Dad? I shook my head even though she couldn't see. No, Mom. I'm done fixing things for people who don't respect me. Andrea made her choices and now she's living with them. I hung up before she could guilt-trip me further. It hurt knowing Mom and Dad were still defending Andrea, but I wasn't backing down. Thursday brought the moment I'd been waiting for and dreading. Andrea showed up at my apartment unannounced, banging on the door like she owned the place. I let her in not because I wanted to, but because I needed to see her face when she finally understood. She looked awful. Her usually perfect hair was messy, her makeup smudged her eyes red from crying or lack of sleep. Helen, you in okay? She said, her voice breaking. Pinnacle's gone. We're bankrupt. Billy's out of a job. We might lose our house. Just tell me what I did to make you hate me this much. I stared at her, feeling a mix of anger and pity, but mostly anger. You think this is about hate? You slapped me? Andrea, you called me ungrateful in front of our entire family. You made me sit at the kids' table like I was nothing, and the whole time you were building your empire on my work. She frowned, confused. What are you talking about? Your work. I built Pinnacle from the ground up. I walked to my kitchen table, grabbed the stack of printed emails and shoved them at her. Read these. Tom Carver, Laura Bennett, Mike Sullivan, they signed with you because of me. I connected you with them. I vouched for you. I followed up to make sure those deals went through. You didn't even know, and you still treated me like I was worthless. Andrea flipped through the papers, her face going pale. This isn't true, she whispered, but I could tell she was starting to believe it. You're lying to make me look bad. I shook my head. I don't need to make you look bad, Andrea. You did that yourself when you decided I wasn't worth respecting. She sank onto my couch, the papers spilling onto her lap. I didn't know, she said, her voice barely audible. I thought I earned those contracts. I didn't let her off the hook. You thought you were better than me. You thought I was some failure who didn't deserve a seat at your table, and now you're seeing what happens when you take people for granted. She looked up at me, tears in her eyes. I'm sorry, Helen. I didn't mean to hurt you. I was stressed, the business was overwhelming, and I took it out on you. Please, can we fix this? I'll do anything. I crossed my arms, unmoved. You're sorry because you got caught, Andrea. You're sorry because your company's gone, not because you hit me or humiliated me. It's too late for apologies. She stood up, her voice desperate. Helen, please. I'm begging you. Call Tom. Call Laura. Tell them you made a mistake. I'll make it right. I'll never treat you like that again. I shook my head, my voice cold. You had years to treat me like I mattered. You chose to call me ungrateful instead. You chose to hit me. I'm not fixing this for you. She stared at me like she couldn't believe I wasn't backing down. Then she grabbed her purse and left, slamming the door behind her. I stood there feeling a strange mix of relief and heaviness. I'd done it. I'd taken everything from her just like she'd tried to take my dignity from me, but it didn't feel like a victory, not completely. Friday morning, I got a call from Dad. His voice was quieter than usual, like he was exhausted. Helen, Andrea told us everything. She showed us the emails. I didn't know you were behind those contracts. Why didn't you tell us? I sighed, tired of explaining. Because I shouldn't have to, Dad. I helped her because I thought it was the right thing to do. But she treated me like I was nothing and you and Mom let her." He was quiet for a moment. "We didn't know, Helen. We thought Andrea was just successful. Can't you give her another chance? She's your sister." I shook my head. "She had her chance, Dad. She had years of chances. I'm done." He didn't argue, just said I'm sorry it came to this and hung up. It was the closest I'd get to an apology from him, but it wasn't enough. That afternoon, Lisa came over bringing takeout and a bottle of wine. "You look like you need this," she said, setting the food on my table. I told her about Andrea's visit, about the emails, about her begging for forgiveness. Lisa listened, nodding. "You did the right thing, Helen. She doesn't get to walk away from this with a clean slate. She needs to feel the consequences." I nodded, but part of me still felt the weight of it. "It's weird," I said. "I thought I'd feel better, like I'd won, but it just feels final." Lisa reached across the table, squeezing my hand. "You didn't just win, Helen. You took back your power. She can't hurt you anymore." By Saturday, the news about Pinnacle's collapse was all over Columbus's business circles. Ryan texted me a link to a local article, "Pinnacle Marketing Files for Bankruptcy After Losing Major Clients." The article didn't mention me, but it didn't have to. I knew the truth, and so did Andrea. Aunt Clara called that evening, her voice soft but firm. "Helen, I read about Pinnacle. Ryan told me you were behind those contracts. I'm so sorry we didn't see how much you were doing for her. Andrea's been telling everyone you sabotaged her, but I'm telling people the truth." I thanked her, feeling a small spark of hope. Not everyone in the family was against me, and that mattered. Andrea tried one more time, sending me a long text Sunday night. "Helen, I know I messed up. I know I took you for granted. I'm sorry for everything. Thanksgiving, the slap, all of it. Please, let's talk. I'll make it right." I read it, then deleted it. Her words didn't mean anything anymore. She wasn't sorry for hurting me. She was sorry her life was falling apart. I'd given her years to see me as an equal, and she'd chosen to see me as less. Now she was living with the consequences, and I was ready to move on. The weeks after Pinnacle Marketing's collapse were like watching a storm settle. Everything was quiet, but the damage was done. Andrea and Billy were picking up the pieces of their shattered lives, while I was moving forward, finally free from the weight of their expectations. Andrea kept trying to reach out, sending texts, leaving voicemails, even showing up at my apartment one more time, begging for forgiveness. But every time I saw her name on my phone, I remembered that slap, her voice calling me ungrateful, the years of being treated like I was less than her. Her apologies weren't about me, they were about saving herself. And I was done being her savior. A week after Andrea's last visit, I got a text from her that was longer than usual. "Helen, I know I messed up. I didn't realize how much you did for Pinnacle. I was wrong to treat you the way I did. Please, let's meet and talk. I want to make this right." I read it, then deleted it without replying. She wasn't sorry for humiliating me in front of our family or for building her success on my work. She was sorry because she'd lost everything: her company, her status, her perfect life. Cousin Ryan told me later that Andrea and Billy had to sell their house to cover debts from Pinnacle's bankruptcy. They'd moved into a small apartment on the edge of Columbus, and Andrea was working as a receptionist at a car dealership, a far cry from the glamorous CEO she used to be. Billy was picking up freelance gigs, barely making ends meet. Part of me felt a pang knowing how far they'd fallen, but it wasn't my job to fix their mess. They'd made their choices, and I'd made mine. Mom called a few days later, her voice heavy with disappointment. "Helen, Andrea's struggling. She told us about the contracts, how you were behind them. Why didn't you tell us you were helping her like that? Maybe we could have worked this out as a family." I took a deep breath, keeping my voice calm but firm. "Mom, I didn't tell you because I shouldn't have to. I helped Andrea because I thought it was the right thing to do, not to get credit." But she crossed a line when she hit me, when she called me ungrateful, when she treated me like I didn't matter. You and Dad let her do it. I'm not going to pretend that's okay. Mom sighed like I was being stubborn. She's your sister Helen. Family forgives. Can't you give her a chance to make amends? I shook my head even though she couldn't see. Family doesn't mean letting people walk all over you. I've given her enough chances. I'm done. She didn't argue, just said, I hope you change your mind, and hung up. It hurt knowing Mom and Dad were still on Andrea's side, but it also felt like a weight lifting. I didn't need their approval anymore. Aunt Clara called that same week, and her tone was different, supportive, almost proud. Helen, Ryan, and I have been talking to the family. We told them what you did for Andrea's company, how you were the one who got her those clients. Some people are starting to see she wasn't honest about you. I'm sorry I didn't stand up for you sooner. I thanked her, feeling a warmth I hadn't expected. Clara and Ryan were proof I wasn't completely alone, that some people saw the truth. Ryan texted me later saying Uncle Jim and a few cousins were questioning Andrea's story too. The family was splitting, some stuck with Andrea believing her victim act, while others, like Clara and Ryan, were on my side. It wasn't the big family reconciliation I'd once hoped for, but it was enough to know I had people who believed me. I kept working at the Columbus Community Fund, throwing myself into my job to stay grounded. My boss, Sarah, noticed a change in me. You seem lighter, she said one day over coffee. Like you're not carrying the world on your shoulders anymore. I smiled, realizing she was right. For years, I'd been carrying the weight of my family's expectations, Andrea's judgment, the need to prove I was enough. Taking down Pinnacle wasn't just about justice. It was about letting go of that burden. I told Sarah a bit about what happened, leaving out the gory details. I stood up for myself, I said. It cost me some family, but it was worth it. She nodded like she understood. Sometimes you have to lose people to find yourself. That stuck with me because it was exactly what I had done. Lisa was my rock through it all. One night we went to our favorite diner, the same one where we'd plotted my next steps after Thanksgiving. Over burgers and fries, she raised her glass of soda. To Helen, the badass who took down an empire and didn't look back. I laughed, clinking my glass against hers. I don't know about badass, but I'm definitely done being a doormat. She grinned. You're more than that. You showed Andrea and everyone else that you're not invisible. You're the one who matters now. Her words hit me hard, not because they were dramatic, but because they were true. I'd spent so long being the sister in the background, the one who helped without asking for credit. Now I was the one setting the terms, and it felt good. A month later, I got a letter from Andrea, handwritten, which was unlike her. She must have spent hours on it because it was long, full of apologies and promises to change. I know I was wrong, she wrote. I took you for granted, and I didn't see how much you did for me. I'm starting over, and I want you in my life. Please, let's be sisters again. I read it once, then tossed it in a drawer. Her words were too late, too hollow. I didn't hate her. I just didn't need her anymore. She'd had years to see me as an equal, and she'd chosen to see me as a nobody. I wasn't going to let her back in just because her life had fallen apart. Ryan gave me updates sometimes, whether I asked for them or not. He said Andrea was struggling to adjust to her new job, that she and Billy were barely speaking. Dad had taken a part-time job at a warehouse to help with their bills, and Mom was trying to hold the family together, but it wasn't working. Some relatives refused to talk about the whole thing, like it was too messy to touch. Others, like Clara and Ryan, kept in touch with me, inviting me to dinners or just checking in. It wasn't the big happy family I'd grown up with, but it was a new kind of family, one that respected me. 6 months after Thanksgiving, I was in a better place than I'd ever been. My work at the community fund was thriving. We'd just secured a new grant for a housing program, and I was leading the charge. I'd started spending more time with Lisa, Clara, and Ryan, building relationships that felt real, not forced. One evening, sitting in my apartment, I thought about that Thanksgiving dinner, about the girl who walked into that house hoping to keep the peace. She was gone now, replaced by someone who knew her worth and wasn't afraid to fight for it. I didn't regret what I'd done, not the emails to Tom, Laura, and Mike, not the decision to let Pinnacle collapse, not the choice to walk away from Andrea. It had cost me a sister, maybe my parents, but it had given me something better myself. I missed the idea of the family I thought I had, the one where we supported each other no matter what. But I didn't miss the reality, the constant judgment, the way Andrea's success was always the priority, the way Mom and Dad let her treat me like I was less. I didn't need their approval to know I'd done the right thing. Standing up for myself, exposing the truth, wasn't about revenge. It was about refusing to be invisible anymore. Andrea's downfall wasn't my fault. She'd built her life on taking me for granted, and when I stopped letting her, it all came crashing down. That was on her, not me. One night, Lisa texted me, "Dinner tomorrow, I'm making tacos." I smiled, typing back, "Count me in. Thanks for being my family." That was the truth. Family wasn't just the people you were born with. It was the people who saw you, who stood by you, who didn't expect you to shrink so they could shine. I'd found that with Lisa, with Clara, with Ryan, and I'd found it in myself too. This story doesn't end with a big reconciliation or a tearful hug. It ends with me knowing who I am and what I'm worth. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is walk away from people who don't see you, even if they're family. Sometimes the truth is enough, even if it breaks everything. If this story hit you, check out the 2 others on your screen now. They're just as real, just as raw. Like, comment, and subscribe. I want to know where you're watching from.